And we have to say, rest in peace to Bob Uecker. Dan Byer already said it. Passed away at the age of 90, which is a win in life. 90, nice run, great career. But you could sum up Bob Uecker with the 5 M's. What are those 5 M's?
5 M's? Okay.
5 M's.
Can I try to guess some of these?
Sure.
Okay. Major League.
Ding.
Mr. Belvedere.
Ding.
Oh, okay.
2.
Mr. Belvedere. Mr. Baseball.
3. That's his nickname.
Mr. Belvedere, Mr. Baseball, Major League. Milwaukee Brewers.
Milwaukee Braves.
Oh, crap.
Maybe 6 M's, yeah.
I'm not going to know the 5th one, am I? Brewers. Oh, wait. Miller Lite.
Whoa! Yeah. Hey, that wasn't rehearsed. You got them all, my man.
Not bad.
And if you say Milwaukee Braves, Milwaukee Brewers, that's 6 M's.
Yeah.
So this dude
actually
had
Milwaukee.
It is Milwaukee.
Which is Algonquin for the good land.
Thank you, Alice Cooper. But Bob Uecker is just one of those guys who had a really interesting career because his personality was bigger than his, I guess, baseball skill, right? He was all personality. Look, here's the story. He was drafted in 1956 by the Milwaukee Braves. I'm sorry, Milwaukee Braves, right? 1956. Right. He played from 62 to 67. He was a catcher from 62 to 67. But again, all personality. He was an all personality kind of guy, clubhouse kind of guy. He only hit 14 career home runs. Again, that's 14 more than we all hit. But I'm saying in the grand scheme of things, he batted 200 and then got into the booth in 1970, never looked back. And again, a personality who just really made a career of himself of being that guy. Commercials, Mr. Belvedere, movies. And people forgot that he was actually in the major leagues, you know, that he really was an athlete.
Harry Doyle
from Major League. The real deal. Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball, has passed away. Now, I loved him on Mr. Belvedere. Some people don't even remember what that show is, you little twits. I love Mr. Belvedere. We all loved Major League. Harry Doyle.
I mean,
we loved the Miller commercials.
Would you argue that one of his calls in Major League might be repeated more than any other play-by-play call of all time?
Top of the 6th, and rookie sensation Ricky Vaughn on the pitch now. You can close the book on Kellner.
Thank God.
Vaughn, a juvenile delinquent in the offseason in his Major League debut. Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
I think just
all 4.
A bit outside. Tried the corner and missed. Might be the most quoted sports call in movie history. You're playing Little League. You're playing high school baseball, college. It could be a big league game, and some guy throws an errant pitch way outside. Just a bit outside is legendary.
I'm not saying by any means I'm special for recognizing that this guy was unique. But when I realized, wait, the guy from Mr. Belvedere, Harry Doyle from Major League, he was in actual Major League Baseball, I found that so intriguing because it was so rare and few and far between when you saw that much personality out of sports that I sought out his rookie card as a kid. It was hard to find. It's not like there was crazy value to it. You had to find a 63 Topps Bob Uecker. I remember buying it. I still have it till this day. You could see it on my IG. And, you know, he's just one of those dudes that I would compare to, loosely and respectfully, to a John Madden type. For what John Madden was for football in a lesser way, and I don't say that disrespectfully in any way, but Bob Uecker's no John Madden. He was in that company of insanely colorful. When you watch those old school WWF clips with Andre the Giant, when you watch those Miller Lite commercials.
By the way, when Andre the Giant's choking him, that clip is going viral today. Of course, I remember that as a kid.
Dude, it's hilarious.
And I don't know if you realize this. If you're a wrestling fan, he was a ring announcer for arguably the biggest wrestling match of the 80s. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant.
He was funny as hell.
He grabs the mic. It wasn't Howard Finkel who introduced Hogan and Andre.
Yeah, he's also known for the mic. Add 7 M's to that.
The mic.
The mic.
So when you think of Bob Uecker, Covino, I'm not going to disagree.
MC.
There is a parallel that I can't quite put my finger on, but John Madden is a...
They both did those Miller Lite commercials.
It's also a... The only difference might be that Madden had genuine success as a player or coach in the game.
Right.
But besides that, football is more of a national sport. We're watching the same games. Uecker day in and day out for the Brewers. So it's different there, but where their personality trumped everything else they did.
Their personality really paved the way for the rest of their careers. And he had a great one. Props to him, Bob Uecker. Now, here's the other side to the story. Depending on who you're talking to, right? We work here at Fox Sports Radio. You have all walks of life. It's the best place to be, one of the best places we've ever worked at. But you got guys like Mike who runs this place. Mike's like 87 years old, right?
Who?
And then you got Mike who runs this place.
Yeah.
And then you got Mary Mack, who's, how old is she, 21? She don't know Bob Uecker from anyone. She's like, who? Right? And then you have to explain it. And there's guys like us who are right there in that pocket in the middle. I'm fluent and old guy, and I got my ear to the streets. I could speak Weenial a little bit. You have to now explain to younger people who these people are. You got to tell them, hey, Bob Uecker was a unique dude. He played baseball, but he was known for he was on TV. He did this and that. He was a broadcaster for all those years since the 70s. Like, wow, yeah, they called him Mr. Baseball because he lived for baseball. Pretty amazing. And he was on TV. Yeah, he was on TV and commercials, everything. So it's our job to keep those legends alive, those names alive. And I think there's one answer on the board. That is the number one answer for all of us to keep the legend alive. There's one guy out there, and yeah, he's spoken of. Yeah, people talk about him, but man, if you didn't live it, you'll never know, and it's our responsibility to pass on the legend. At the count of three, can we all say who we think I'm talking about?
Okay.
In the count of three,
okay.
Whose legend is it our responsibility to keep alive?
Okay.
Because today we have to explain who Bob Uecker is to a lot of people,
I'm reading
right?
your mind.
Or honor and acknowledge Uecker. But who's that legend? He's still alive. I'll give you that hint.
Okay.
He's still alive, but who's the legend that we need to keep alive?
Right.
On the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Weird
Bo
Al.
Jackson. No,
I'm joking.
Weird Al's a good answer, though.
No,
Weird
but
Al.
I knew you were gonna
Weird Al has crazy longevity, though.
He's not that old.
Dude,
He's
Weird
like
Al's
his 60s
longevity,
maybe?
though, is absurd, dude.
No, but I jokingly, but not say Weird Al, because if you see all these young kids on TikTok and Instagram making their own little parodies and videos,
I think that's a good answer.
Who is the original guy doing all that?
Weird Al.
Weird Al.
Yankovic.
But Covino's right. Bo Jackson is the number one answer because, and I've heard people say this, he never won an MVP or a championship. So a lot of things that would bring you back to a name in the past are always like, oh, they're a 3-time MVP or a Super Bowl champion or a World Series champion.
Some people you don't need to keep it alive because it's always going to be alive. A la Michael Jordan. Every kid, every nose-picking kid right now, there's 3-year-olds right now wearing Jordans, and they recognize the logo. It's our job to be like, yo, Bo Jackson never won, but let me tell you, kid. In fact, there's a very viral clip from back in the day. It's a little older now, but Bo Jackson was at White Sox training camp. Do you guys remember? I think it was like Adam LaRoche's kid or something like that. He was there picking his nose, and he's like, who are you, sir? And he's like, I'm Bo Jackson. And he's explaining like how great he was and that he played football, and this little kid is just,
and baseball.
Yeah. He's like, wait, you played baseball and football? Yup. And I was great at both. And he's telling his kid who he is. That's basically our job to do moving forward. And today, like I said, we tell the younglings, the youngins, the weenials who Bob Uecker was because he was very unique in his path.
Especially if you're a kid of the 80s and you watched Mr. Belvedere.
Dude, I love that show, by the way.
And you watched the Major League movies. And you just know his significance as Mr. Baseball, the commercials. Covino's right. It's our job to, hey, pull aside your niece or nephew or your kid or the youngster at work and just say, Bob Uecker, let me tell you about Bob Uecker. And I think Bo Jackson's a great example. And I do think Weird Al's a good example.
I do think, you know what? I know you said that as a joke. I think that's a really great example because they're like, wait, he sort of cornered the market on that. Can you name me another parody guy that's as famous, even like anywhere in the ballpark to Weird Al. He cornered the market.
You know who I think
since the late 70s, early 80s.
You know who I think is going to get this reputation in the next 20 years?
Who?
We're radio people, right? I mean, I think there's going to come a point where youngsters won't know the influence of Howard Stern back in the day.
I'm already seeing it. Yeah, I'm already seeing it.
Like, you know, podcasting is bigger than ever. You got the comedy category with the Theo Vons and the Seguras and Bert Kreischers and, you know, Joe Rogan, Call Her Daddy. And then in the sports world, I love our show.
Yeah,
but,
Covino and Rich, the world famous.
Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd, Barstool, you know, Big Cat. Broadcasting's such a big thing now more than ever.
The difference between our type of show is we're a live radio show that you could still get on podcast, right?
Yeah.
I think, you know, we're broadcasters who also do a podcast. That's the difference.
Agreed. I just think that
you're right about that, though, Rich. They won't know.
Because of the influence of all of these podcasters now. And it's almost very niche. It's like, hey, do you want sports? Do you want a comedian doing a podcast? And it's like for an hour a week or maybe 2 40-minute episodes.
If you ask a younger kid who's the king of all media, there's a good chance they'll say Joe Rogan. You're like, no, Howard Stern, you dummy.
Well, not anymore.
I know,
but when you were a kid,
they're gonna be like, who?
Wait, the guy that has the long curly hair.
How many? Do you guys know offhand how many years it's been now since he changed his politics?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, things flipped. It's been a good, 5-6 years probably. Because we worked at SiriusXM with him. We're still part of SiriusXM now, and a lot of you could hear us on SiriusXM 83.
He still has his fans, and he still makes hundreds of millions of dollars, but the youngsters don't know.
They don't know.
Oh, and a lot of his fans stay his fans because they feel in debt to him for what he did before. Because I see his fan page almost every day, and there's complaining on there about almost every show that he does now.
Oh, yeah, but his diehards will carry him forever.
Yeah, well, and the comments underneath always say, well, why are you still subscribing? Well, because I'm hoping he's going to go back to the old Howard. Yeah. So there's people still holding on.
So today we were honoring Bob Uecker, keeping his legend alive, especially as a broadcaster, announcer, all the things he did. Amazing, right? But in your own life, Fox Sports Radio Nation, before we get into the other meat, give us a call on the world-famous Covino and Rich Show at 877-99 on Fox. Who do you find yourself keeping alive? Who's legend? Is it anyone else?
I got two.
Like, Rich, you got a 4-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. There's got to be a guy or something. Like, do you tell them about Andre the Giant? And they're like, no way, Dad.
I've showed my kids. No, I've showed my kids like
right.
Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Andre the Giant. I said
he had 22-inch pythons,
24-inch pythons. Get it right.
I'm sorry, 24-inch pythons. No way, Dad.
If you're a kid, like I said, depends on what generation. 70s, 80s, 90s. I'm a kid of the 80s. But, you know, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. If you're 40ish, you're the same. You know, 80s, 90s. Connect.
I'm a little older than you, Rich. So I remember Hogan when he had the 22-inch pythons. They got bigger as
before
he
the steroids.
Yeah,
okay.
Before the steroids.
Two people that come to mind from me. When everyone's daughter and son maybe are obsessed with Taylor Swift and she's making billions of dollars and she's the biggest global star in the world, I almost feel like you need to remind youngsters that, you know, there was once a Madonna and Michael Jackson. You might think of this guy as the creepy guy. Wait, the creepy guy with the glove?
By the way, that would have been my answer because I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with my daughter, who's 15, right? Trying to explain, imagine Billie Eilish, imagine Justin Bieber, imagine all your favorite bands combined, all your Beyoncés of the world, combine them. Still not bigger. Your Taylor Swift, throw her in there too. Still not bigger than what Michael Jackson meant to the 80s.
No way, Dad, really? Taylor Swift is the closest thing, and I think it's level. He doesn't think so, but
not even close.
But, I think close.
Taylor Swift is not shutting down the Chiefs game. Michael Jackson couldn't even go to a Lakers game.
Taylor Swift goes around the world, and every country on planet Earth, there's people in parking lots trying to get in. She's that level.
She doesn't live in a world of mystique and celebrity that Michael Jackson existed in. So if he made a public appearance, it's almost like the world shut down because he was so internationally famous. But anyway,
She affected the ratings of the biggest sport already on planet Earth in the United States.
I'm not downplaying her popularity. I'm just saying I don't think she's...
Michael Jackson's a
Michael
great
Jackson's, and again, his legend precedes himself, but kids won't really understand, so you have to try to explain.
I have two athletes that both my sons have asked me about because they've seen clips online. Jerry Rice.
Oh, good one.
And
Dad, what made him so fast? It's like, I don't know. He had a quick first step or something. I don't.
And DB will feel me on this one because our daughter, who's just turned 14, she was asking because she saw the highlight of his son hitting the hole-in-one, Tiger Woods.
Oh, yeah.
She has no idea what Tiger Woods was to us when we were kids.
Dude, that's the unfortunate side of the controversy he found himself in, because when the books are written, some kids might only know, like, yeah, didn't he, like, cheat on his wife or something? Like, yeah, but before that, he was a legend.
Oh, I tell you, when you were saying Dan Byer, I thought you were going to say Steve Largent.
I was wondering. Then when he was narrowing it down, I'm like, wait a sec, there can't be too many. I knew it was going to be Bosworth, not from Danny G. That's for sure. I'll tell you one that I tried to, and it's more of a franchise, but as you guys mentioned earlier, Mr. Belvedere, just the Brady Bunch show as it is one that my 3-year-old now asks to watch. And I feel there's something about that specific sitcom that has transcended so many. I think a lot of other shows have gone by the wayside. We don't necessarily care about anymore, but I think our generation, even though it wasn't my generation when that show was on, I wasn't even born when that show was on, still being able to carry it. We watched an episode last night. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like soothing.
Yeah. So that's where I go.
I love that answer because there's so much explaining involved in this. You'll show your kid like Brady Bunch, like, yeah, but let me explain. It, like Dan said, it wasn't on when I was a kid. They just played reruns, and
it didn't really air that long. But
we loved it. But it
can't relate to it really. But it's just great.
Generations of kids love this show.
It was a blended family, which really wasn't talked about much back then, and you know that they were all living together, and they had Alice.
Yeah,
and you know what, Dan? This is crazy.
Sam the Butcher.
Have you thought about taking your little kid to see the actual house? Because it's like a stone's throw away.
Yes, yeah. It's not,
been there.
Not that
you
far.
Have
you been inside?
No, I've seen the outside. It's in Studio City.
Yeah, it's close.
Right by my chiropractor.
No, it was when Sam was dating Jan.
That's right. Jan first, baby.
Sam was cousin Oliver. So anyway,
Iowa.
We should start that rumor.
I like that answer because it's just no one really understands if they're younger how we even consume that show because they look at you like, how old are you? How did you even watch this?
One of the things I know,
Nick at Night.
One of the things I know I suck at is acknowledging old-timey time stuff because it doesn't register with my eyes. Old black and white movies are very hard for me to watch. And someone pointed something out to me once, and I feel like I need to do it to a younger generation. I pictured Marlon Brando as like fat old Marlon Brando.
No, but you don't understand how
and
handsome he was.
I remember someone being like, Marlon Brando was a hunk. And I'm like, wait, what, the fat guy? Wait, the old... Then I watched Streetcar Named Desire in like a film class, and I'm like, that stud turned into...
Yeah.
Oh, I did not give this guy enough credit. And because he got hit with disease and because he's not what we remember, I think it's our responsibility to tell our kids the coolest dude on planet Earth in the 80s was Michael J. Fox.
I love that answer, too. I think that's a great answer.
I mean, he's still cool, and he's still fighting a cause for Parkinson's and everything, but no kid will ever realize that there was a moment in time where Michael J. Fox...
Well, you know why, Rich? Because he was one of the few that were able to cross over to TV star to movie star.
He was doing Family
Back
Ties,
then, it was a
Doc
separate world.
Hollywood, Back to the Future. There was a moment in time where Michael J. Fox was the definition of, like, cool.
Some legends live on their own. Some you really need to explain. And today, like we said, Bob Uecker passed away. It's our job to explain why he was significant to a younger generation.
Can I tell you what I'm shocked that we don't see?
Who else comes to mind for you?
I'm shocked that we live in a world where, I don't know about you, my social media feeds, as I joke, other than butt cheeks, filled with sports and comedy usually, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a million clips. Oh, Matt Rife, Two Bears. Oh, I'm seeing all the same clips you're seeing. Theo Von, Cheeto Santino and Bobby Lee. we see all this comedy out there.
You gave Theo Von 2 shout-outs today.
I
How many
like-
shout-outs he giving you?
I like Theo Von.
I like Theo Von too, but he's shouting me out. The world-famous COVINO and Rich show.
Well, maybe he will now.
Maybe he will.
For all the comedy we consume now, guys like Richard Pryor and George Carlin, someone needs to be cutting up their clips and putting those on Instagram or TikTok, because those are guys that sort of paved the way for these comics. They were towing the line and being edgy. So to me, Richard Pryor and George Carlin, if you got a kid that's into comedy, you might need to school them on them and say, listen, sometimes comedy dies if you don't show people the specials and the videos.
Hey, can I shamelessly promote something then? Speaking of those two,
What are you working on outside of this? What are you, Big Shot or something?
I already did it. On the History Channel, wherever you stream the History Channel, I was part of a series, one of the main contributors on a series called The Icons That Built America. Derek Jeter produced it, and there was an episode where...
Covino so badly wants to be called into a meeting in Jeter's.
Oh, I can't wait. There was an episode called Kings of Comedy that I was featured in, and I talked about Richard Pryor and George Carlin. It's called Kings of Comedy, Episode 6, Icons That Built America, on the History Channel. Check it out wherever you stream the History Channel on demand. But again, I do think it's our responsibility. Our parents' generation did it to us. It's our job now to do it to a younger generation. These kids are going to be like, well, why was Bob Uecker significant? Well, let me explain.
You know what we got to do? We got to take all the feedback. The phones are all lit. So 877-99 on Fox, in honor of the late, great Bob Uecker. The guy was a week shy of hitting 91. What a life. Mr. Baseball, Mr. Belvedere. He played the dad. Major League, Mr. Belvedere legend. In honor of him, what other legends need their story told?